Welcome to Read Aloud 201. Today we'll be starting Chapter 3 of Flat Stanley's Worldwide Adventure, the Intrepid Canadian Expedition. But before we start reading, I want you all to take a minute and predict what you think will happen in Chapter 3. In Chapters 1 and 2, we saw Flat Stanley and his brother Arthur skiing, and his brother ended up hurt. As a result, Stanley's brother Arthur gave him and Nick, their friend, tickets to the Worldwide Snowboarding Championship. Predict how you think the friendship between Nick and Stanley will go. Do you think they'll get along? Do you see any accidents happening? What do you think is going to happen in chapter 3? Remember, there's no wrong answers. I'll give you all some time to think about it. Up, up, and away. When Stanley and Nick arrived at the course, they noticed that most of the crowd was huddled near the bottom of the run. The wind's picked up, said Nick. It'll make for some fantastic boarding, but I wish we can get to the top to watch. Stay behind me, and we'll fly right up, Stanley told Nick. With the wind at his back, Stanley told his new friend to the start line. Thanks, said Nick. We'll have the best view in the place. The competition began, and Nick was right. The conditions were perfect for some astonishing snowboarding. Did you see that, fellow? That was an epic jump, Nick said. You sure know a lot about this, Stanley said admiringly. You must be really good. I'm better than good, Nick bragged. He looked longingly down the trail. In fact, if I only had my snowboard, I'd show them a thing or two. Stanley grinned. Well, there are some things I'm really good at, too. Then he stiffened, perfectly straight, with his arms at his side. What do you think? Nick got the idea at once, but he smirked. Are you serious? I only use the best boards. Very expensive, like the pros. Oh, come on, let's try it, Stanley urged. Nick rolled his eyes. All right, let's go. The boys edged their way to a spot alongside the starting gate. Nick pulled on his goggles. Ready? Stanley lay down in the snow and wrapped his scarf around his middle for foot bindings. Ready. Nick jumped on top of him, and the starting gun went off. The boys shot down the slope parallel to the other snowboarders. Nick called out commands, and Stanley positioned himself accordingly. They made quite a team. They started on course, weaving through packs of snowboarders as they fired over some moguls. Are we in control? Nick asked. I think so, Stanley replied. As they approached the 10-foot kicker jump. I hope so, Nick hollered. As they accelerated through the kicker, getting enormous air, the view from 30 feet above the slope was spectacular, peaceful, and still. Stanley caught a snowflake on his tongue, and then Nick said, Stanley, we're going down now. It was time for the landing, something that neither Nick nor Stanley had considered until the moment. They braced themselves for a rough impact, pleased when they glided gently into some thick powder, skidding away in a wake of snow. That wasn't so bad, Stanley reflected. Stanley, Nick was pointing ahead, trying his best to keep Stanley on course as they veered off the trail into the woods. Look, a jib, Nick said. He guided them toward a fallen tree, where snowboarders were sliding over the trunk. They glided up and over the length of the log, spinning as onlookers admired their flair. Whee! Stanley and Nick shouted together. They landed and sped back to the course, going faster than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we have a new challenger, shouted the sports announcer, and he's giving the professionals some competition. The wind blew even stronger now. I'm going to cut you into it now, Nick told Stanley. If we catch a current, I bet we can kill it. Are you sure? Called out Stanley. We're going higher than anyone else already. That's just where we should be, yelled Nick. Bombs away. Stanley strained upward to catch the wind, remembering what he learned when Arthur had flown him like a kite. Up and up he went, while Nick crouched to hold on to Stanley with one hand. The crowd below roared in delight. Even the other snowboarders finished with the run now cheered in awe. Stanley realized the problem first. I can't come down, he yelled to Nick. I've caught the current and I can't get out of it. Nick shouted. No way, dude. I've got it under control. He tried to glide. He tried to guide the Stanley board down, but it was no use. Suddenly, an even stronger gust of wind flipped them completely over. Grab my hands and feet, Stanley called to Nick. Nick did just in time, and Stanley allowed himself to billow on the wind like a parasail. The boys floated even higher over the course. Far down below in the crowd, Stanley caught sight of his father standing with Dr. Dave looking very worried. We're gonna fall, Nick screamed. Both fathers gestured wildly with puzzled looks. No, we're not, Stanley tried to assure Nick. Just don't let go. But Nick was panicking. We're gonna fall, he screamed even louder to the dads. We're gonna fall. No, not unless the wind were to stop all of a sudden, Stanley told Nick. I'm not shaped for skiing anymore, but I'm just right for riding the currents. Just hold on tight until the wind dies down, all right? Nick remained nervous, but he held tight. Up so high, it was curiously quiet in spite of the wind. Stanley decided to take Nick's mind off the situation by chatting. My family is going to a wedding next week. It's somewhere near the Canadian border, so he decided to get a ski vacation in before it. That's nothing, Nick said. I'm the ring bearer for a wedding next week. We have a hot chocolate party at the lodge last night, Stanley tried. I drank 4 mugs yesterday, said Nick, with extra marshmallows. Then we watched a good show about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I've seen every episode, Nick bragged. No matter what Stanley mentioned, Nick had done it before. Had done it. Better, faster, or more times. Stanley began to feel a little discouraged, but he kept talking all afternoon because it was working. Nick was relaxing. As the sky darkened, the two boys grew tired. You sleep a little first, Stanley offered. One of us should always stay awake in case we come down. Stanley steered them over the darkening mountains for a few hours as Nick dozed. Then when the moon rose, Nick awoke and let Stanley close his eyes. Stanley would have preferred to have his pillow warm blankets at the lodge with his brother in the next bed, but within minutes he was sound asleep. And that is chapter 3.